In this quick coffee break tutorial, I'm going to use some printed words that are available on my Etsy store, along with a very flexible and very fun to use mould that's been created using Stamperia Cream paste. I'm going to use a white side folding card which measures about 5¼ inches by 5¼ inches. This is an ideal size to fit onto this word sheet. Now you can obviously print up your own words or use your own backgrounds, but these are some words that I have started using for myself. They're an ideal size to make large cards. You can see the sort of size that is available, and then there are darker bold words at the bottom that you can use to make your own sentiments. I've drawn around my card and I'm just cutting out my background. The words are in a nice light grey text, and grey is a fantastic colour for matching with just about any other colour I've ever thrown at it. I'm going to use a foam applicator to add some milled lavender distress oxide onto the front of my words. I wanted to show you that the distress oxides won't smudge or smear your words. This was just printed off with a normal inkjet printer. Now I'm using weathered wood. I want to add some darker colours to this, and you can see I make a bit of an error at the beginning of this. In that top right corner I make it really splodgy. That's not the effect I wanted. So I'm knocking off some of the ink before I take the foam dabber over my sheet of words, and I'm just going to work on that corner and blend in the splat of ink so that it's less obvious and doesn't have any hard edges. And then I found I get a really nice result just by dabbing the colour on. So not blending it, but just dabbing it on with the foam applicator before finishing off those edges by blending the ink into the centre of the card. Finally, I'm taking the milled lavender again, and I'm just going to use that to blend the colours together. It doesn't really matter, it doesn't have to be a smooth blend, but I don't want any hard edges. I've got a couple of distress oxide sprays here. Now the first one that I'm using is spun sugar, and really I should have tested this first. I thought this would go nicely with the milled lavender, but actually once I put a couple of drops of this on my sheet I decided I didn't really like it, and I focused instead on using shaded lilac drops. I found that these work really nicely with both colours, and I'm not too worried about the little splodges of the spun sugar because I know I'm going to be covering those up. I've got a Versacolour ink pad now. I've got two colours. I'm using Neptune and Lavender, and I'm mixing them up on my dried impression mould, and I'm going to use this as a stamp, and that's why I'm mixing and matching the colours, because I don't want it to be a solid colour onto my background. This is a fantastic way to get extra value out of these moulds, and to see how I created the mould with the cream paste, please refer to my earlier video. I'll provide a link as well below this video. I wanted to show you that you can clean the mould. If you've used a nice water-based ink, this will just wash away, and it means that when I go to cut out those two butterflies I'm not going to get myself covered in ink. It also means that if you wanted to use the mould again using different colours, you could do that too. I've got a fairly firm brush which I've dabbed into my Neptune Versacolour ink, and I'm dabbing this, I'm pouncing it quite deeply into my impression so that I can colour the background of this, the bit that's right at the back, the deepest part of the butterfly. I've done them both now, and the reason that I wanted to get the colour really deep is because I want to now add a layer of silver wax. This is a Pebeo silver gilding wax. I take a dry tissue and then I take a very small amount of the wax on the tissue and very gently brush it onto the raised parts of my butterfly. Once it's had a little time to dry, you can burnish it and make it a little bit more shiny by buffing it with a dry tissue. These are wonderfully light things that you can use to stick on cards that you're going to send through the post. They're not going to add a lot of weight. They're also not going to add too much bulk, so it's an easy way to get dimension onto your cards without it being heavy or really big. I've gone back to my background word sheet that I printed out, and I've selected 4 of the words. These words are spaced out on the sheet in such a way that you can really easily cut between them, so you can create exactly the right phrase that you want and still have lots of other words left, so you don't have to cut around and lose words if you want to select a particular 4. I'm going to add these to the side of my card and glue those into position. There's so much going on in the background that I don't feel that I need to go around the outside of those words with a pen or any shading. They stand out nicely on the white on their own. I'm going to glue the background of my card onto my base side folding card, and then I'm going to take just an ordinary glue and I'm going to glue both of my butterflies into position, and you will see with this top one that I can easily cover over the little splodges of spun sugar that I didn't like when I applied them earlier on. I want to add a little bit of sparkle to my card, so I'm using some Nuvo drops. I'm just going to add these all over the background of the card. Those drops will complete our card for today. So I'm going to say thank you very much for watching, thank you for your time. Please go and refer to the earlier video where I show you ways that you can use the Stamperia Cream paste in these lovely moulds. And until we meet again, take care.